So what do we got here? Hello. I think I got it right this time, so it's not going to screw up on me again. So, sort of continuing off what was it I said yesterday I was going to do? Can't remember now. Too much has happened in the last 24 hours. That sort of feels like the story of my life right now. Too much happens in a period of time, and I can't keep track of what I'm supposed to be doing. All right, so deck of many things, Talus cards, Tarokka cards, so I'll show you sort of one of the things that playing around with these card designs. See if I can decrease the size of this so I can fit a card on the page. Okay, so we have the 4 suits. We have the coins, glyphs, stars, and swords. And how many are there per suit? There's sort of 10 with the Tarokka cards. I say sort of 10, and see if I can zoom in here. So we're shifting from yeah, whatever. The suit of coins starts with the rogue card, and then it starts with card number 1 of coins. So rogue is sort of like a separate start card for each suit. And so you have 10 cards essentially, where you have ace 1, 2 instead of 1, 2, 3 all the way up through 10. And each card is an image of a character doing something. So the coins is the suit of coins starts with the rogue card. I should probably go up through from the very beginning. So the Tarokka cards start with the stars. Unnumbered first card is Wizard. Second card is Transmuter, which is number 1. Then Diviner. Then Enchanter. Then is Abjurer. 5th is Elementalist. 6th is Evoker. 7th is Illusionist. 8th is Necromancer. 9th is Conjurer. And then the next card is the Card of Swords Warrior card, which is the 0 card, essentially, for the Warrior or Swords class. And then it becomes the Avenger, the Paladin, the Soldier, the Mercenary, the Myrmidon, Berserker, Hooded One, Dictator, and Torturer for swords. And then Rogue is the first of the coins suit, with Swashbuckler, Philanthropist, Trader, Merchant, Guild Member, Beggar, Thief, Tax Collector, Miser, and then the first of glyphs is Priest. And you go through that. And glyphs, I don't like the term glyph, and I don't like the symbol that they use for it, but it is what it is. The first of glyphs is Monk, then Missionary, then Healer, then Shepherd, then Druid, then Anarchist, Charlatan, Bishop, and Traitor. So their suit for that one is a little more than a little different than what I'd expect. And then you get the suit of crowns. So they technically have this extra suit So you have 10 cards per suit. That would get you 1 through 10 on a tarot deck, and then you have Ghost, Tempter, Seer, Raven, Dungeon, Mists, Dark Lord, Marionette, Broken One, Innocent, Beast, Horseman, Artifact, Executioner. So there are 15 cards for the major arcana that they make. Now, 15 cards, if you take a look at a standard deck of cards, you have the ace through 10. We have ace through 10, or 1 through 10. And then each suit has a queen, king, or jack, queen, king. 3 times 4 makes 12. If you look at a tarot deck, you'll have ace through 10, and then page, knight, queen, king. So 4 times 4 is 16. Now this deck has 15, so it's a lot closer to a tarot deck in that you have 1 short of what you would need to have all the cards of the minor arcana. So looking through that, the other trick to this is the dungeon card in the Tarokka deck also makes an appearance in the deck of many things. And the deck of many things, you don't want 2 of that card to make an appearance. So if I took a look at that and pulled that one out, I have 14 cards, not 15. So I'm 2 short of the 16 cards I would need for a tarot card, a tarot deck. But there is one of these cards which is the Horseman, but it's only 1 Horseman. If I added 3 more Horsemen, I'd have those 2 extra cards that I need to reach 16 plus an extra. So I could lose another one of these cards that I don't necessarily agree with. So I could pull Dungeon out, and I could probably pull out one of the other characters. And I think going through it all, the vast majority of the rest of them, you start off with Ghost, Tempter, Seer, Raven. Now Raven could, which is a mythological creature in the Dungeons and Dragons setting. So remove the Dungeon card, and then remove the Mist card potentially. Then Dark Lord, Marionette, Broken One, Innocent, Beast, Artifact, Executioner, and then 4 Horsemen. We should be able to get where we need to be for the right number of cards for the deck of tarot cards. The 4 Horsemen would be the pestilence, famine, war, and death. And that's easy enough to do. So I'm really thinking that's what I'm probably going to do. I may keep the Dungeon and the Mist as sort of like extraneous Joker cards, just because, you know, I'm pulling them out of a deck of cards which is built to be played the way they are. But then we've got the Deck of Many Things, which has the cards of Balance, Comet, Dungeon again, Urael, which is Medusa, Fates, Flame, Fool, Gem, Idiot, Jester, Key, Knight, Moon, Rogue, Ruin, Skull, Star, Sun, Talon, Throne, Vizier, Void. So right there, unless I missed my count, we have 22, which is the exact number you want for the major arcana, including the Fool card, which is card 0. So note we had that repeat of the Dungeon card. And it's spelled D-O-N-J-O-N, which annoyed the heck out of me at first until I realized where it came from. But so you have that to use as a major arcana card. With that and the Tarokka cards put together, you have a functional tarot card deck. The biggest difference is you're using this extra suit of crowns, which is 16 cards long instead of 10 like the others. And each of the crown cards is a distinct entity and not a page, knight, queen, king for the deck. So it's a little bit different, but not so drastically so that you can't reclaim it. The 4 horsemen can be the knights. Let's see. Out of that set, we have the Ghost is indeterminate gender-wise. Tempter is a female character. Stereotypes there, but the Raven, if it's the Raven Queen, may be a female character. And the Innocent is a female character. So you could potentially have your 4 female characters there. But there are recommendations in the player's guide as to what to equate. Basically, in the books, the source book they used to create this deck of cards for gameplay, they included ways of using a regular deck of playing cards to approximate these. And so your cards of rogue, warrior, priest, and wizard are going to be your 10 cards. And then your 1 through 9 are your traditional numbered cards. And then your Jack, Queen, and King out of the traditional deck of cards would be assigned to one of these crown suits. And then the Queen, or the Jack, Queen, King times 4 gets you 12 cards. And then 2 Jokers gets you 14 cards. So you have roughly a deck of cards you can use for that gameplay. I think that's the way they went with it. So they do have cards that you can assign to specific crown cards. And I might just fall back on that pattern a little bit. to decide which go with which. And I may alter the artwork just a touch for each of the suits, each of the crown cards, to indicate that they can belong to a given suit. Because having them suitless could work, but it changes some of the gameplay. Like if you're trying to play a traditional card game and you draw the executioner card, is that a sword? Is it a coin? Is it a star? Is it a glyph? You know, without an indicator there of what it belongs to, it becomes harder to play some of the traditional games with it. So I want to potentially convert that. So yeah, that was my sort of reworking of the deck of many things and the Tarokka deck, so that they can be combined. These two sort of legendary cards from in the Dungeons and Dragons universe, now a functional and useful tool set for all sorts of things. And there are ways you can use a tarot deck or one similar to it to tell stories, drawing cards. And it's really what you're doing when you use a tarot deck, is you're telling a story about choices being made and solving a puzzle of character situations. So it's questions and answers and elaborations on stories is what a tarot deck is meant to do. So really just using a tarot deck as a way of telling stories is an option. Now, what we have here is the other deck that I was playing with the other day. It's called the Talis deck. Talis. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 suits colored. I guess technically we'd call that orange, white, purple, blue, green, brown. And each one of those is equated with an element. So like, for instance, the suit for orange is symboled with fire. Card 1/10, because it can serve as both, is dragon orb. And it says dragon at the top and orb at the bottom. The game, the setting that this came from, has these mystical items called dragon orbs. But they're also using it here as a means of stating that right side up, it's the dragon card, and upside down, it's the orb card. And which side is up tells you something about what its meaning is. Okay, card number 2 is Candlelight flipped its mate. And that trend, I believe, continues on in the other card suits. So the wind suit is, its logo is a cloud. First one is dragon orb. Second one is song and mate. So they both have a different title on top, but they have the same one on the bottom. So back to fire, we have dragon, candlelight, wildfire, forge, beacon, bonfire, cauldron, hearth, phoenix. And then all of those are fire themed. And then there's a bonus card, essentially. It's the purple suit, the Fates card, also has a logo of fire in the middle, and that one's called Weapons on the top and Destruction on bottom. And then wind is song, south, west, north, east, whirlwind, nadir, and zenith. And then wisdom and knowledge is the purple suited fate suit with the wind cloud in the middle. And so water is a wave. Earth is a leaf for plants growing in the earth, I guess. And its purple suited deck is Grove and Wilds. The water's purple suited is Sea and Maelstrom. And then the brown suited card, which I feel makes more sense, is a earth card for dirt and mud and those kinds of things, but they use it for animals. And their purple suited card is Balance and Betrayal. And then additionally, a card is called the Seeker, and it has all the different suits symbols on it. And so I guess it doesn't count as a given suit. But notice all the other suits have, I'll show you the pictures of it, because I do think they did wrong by, the artwork's not bad, but it's old school artwork. And they sort of smeared all the colors with this overtone color, which I think wrecks it. So those are those cards. Those are the Talus cards. And they kind of wash them out with the base color that they use for them. But yeah, the purple suit then has literally just, we have purple suit is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the Seeker card is in that suit right now, just for ease of printing, I guess. And so it too is a 9 suited deck, where all the other 9 suited cards have half of the Fate purple suit distributed to it. And I don't know how I feel about that. It bothers me just a little bit. But with that being said, let's see if we can step out. See if I can find my... Okay, so this is the other card that I've been playing a lot with lately that I mentioned last night. See if I can pull down here, get a better shot. So this is, and I love the artwork on these. It has the possibility of making a really great set of cards. But I'll pull up here also something that I was talking about last night, where using the stained glass from in-game images suits well for an additional suit. But I will adjust the art. You can see that one has to be skewed and expanded on the top. And then they have these additional smaller cards that are their major arcana. So I'll see if I can pull that up. So notice it's much smaller over there on the side. So I want to play with that in a little bit to do the artwork for that. And then the additional potential suits. Oh, I think I just crashed my computer. That's super useful. Yup, it just gave up. Pushed too hard and it got argumentative. Why are you continuing to do that? Oh, okay. Now you're just really fully giving me garbage. Okay. Yeah, that's frustrating that Windows is doing that to me regularly now. Okay, cards. Those are the Destinies cards. And then Destiny cards also have a folder in it that I use for crests. And there are some concept artworks out there for races for a sequel game that they were working on. And the artwork is really good. It's too good in comparison to the other one to be a suit of its own, I think. So let's see. The crests we have are Gravehill, House of Ballads, Reckoning. It's from a game called, that's what was it called? Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. Amalur. And it looks like an interesting game, but they have these specific suits or these specific crests and banners for each of certain houses. So they have Gravehill, which isn't really a full crest. It's just a wavy pattern on a cloth. Then they have Ballads, Sorrows, Valor. So Ballads, Sorrows, Valor, Arcana, Warsworn, and the Travelers, which the Travelers themselves have 3, possibly 4 individual suits. But if we just did, one of them, we can actually end up with the 6 cards we would need for a suit. And the artwork's decent on them, but I feel like the problem I have with that is like House of Ballads and House of Sorrows maybe you can go with, but what's with Valor, Arcana, and the other ones? Most people they're too steeped in the history of the game setting to be overtly useful. But meanwhile, we have some of the concept artwork for some of the places, which I think could potentially be a better choice for that remaining extra suit that I have to figure out. And I'm debating on which of these is going to be a suit for play and which of them are going to be potentially artwork for the back of the cards. Because there's one image which I think would make a good back of the card image, and it's basically themed for the artwork for the game universe, but has a very simple mystical feel to it. There's another one similar to that I could potentially use. But some of these setting shots would work decently. And I'm debating whether or not I want the suit of places to be color schemed, because they can. They're a little less perfectly matched to the color scheme. I've placed them according to color. So I have the red, the yellow, and the blue that I can use as the three main suits, and then there's sort of like an orangey sunset in one, and a green tone to another, and a purple tone to another, and that red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple would get you a match to the other colors of the scheme, with the exception of the Jack of all trades class, which has a kind of a gray tone. I do have a potential setting image that would work for that too, but that would make 7 cards instead of 6. So I'm back and forth on that a lot. So I debate that, and there's some possibility there of a slightly more mythical image for the background on the back of the card. It's hard to say for sure. It's that one suit that I haven't figured out yet. I debate back and forth with myself a little bit about it, because I think it has potential. And there are a few other setting pieces that I could use that are not color coded, but are still kind of neat. So there's some ruins and a pirate ship, and so it really comes down to, at that point, breaking it down to see what I'm going to apply them to. As with most of the cards who are character based in the main 7 suits, they can be used to tell stories, like I was talking about doing with some of the other cards that I talked about earlier. You can use them as a storytelling mechanism. The best way to do that is equate an action and a character type with each card. And if you have a set of cards that are also a story concept, like the stained glass windows are legends from the setting, but they're sort of like fairy tale story archetypes that you can use. And then you have places or atmospheres, sense of situation, or signs of tragedy or struggle. So like a pirate ship would be potentially valuable for that. A city hanging over the edge of a cliff could be doing something like that. The city on the water. Ruins versus a thriving city, or a sort of elven-looking city, or a temple, or a wintry city. They all work. It's just deciding what the feel of these places is, and if they can add sense to the situation. Now, the trick to remember also is, when you're using them like this, you're going to have 7 other decks. So on any given hand, if you draw 3 to 5 cards, you're going to get more characters and actions than you're going to get places or story themes or moods. And so you have a way bigger chance of characters and actions showing up. And maybe that works. Maybe that works for what we need. Having a suit of 6 out of, 7 times 6. So, I mean, there's a fair amount of drowning out that goes on in that. But if we do all that, And that's just me playing around with this deck. I'm having a fair amount of fun figuring that out, but I'm still torn a little bit about how to take it further. And that's me playing with cards. I've also been building up some resources for my role-playing game stuff. And I think part of what I'd like to do for some of that is sort of do it like story time, where I tell the story of what's going on or what happened in a given game. But speaking of storytelling, I think I remembered the other thing I was going to mention today that I closed out with last night was I've been sort of all over the place. My focus has been a little all over the place. But one of the things that I landed on, I can remember, I want to say it was back in 2000-ish. And I was talking with somebody about some of my fandom stuff. And I wrote some original character stories set in other settings. So I wrote a story for The Matrix, story of movies. And the Matrix story that I told, I set as a colony that had made it to Mars before the big event that had humans put in pods and controlled by robots, and they blacked out the sun and everything. The setting I built around Mars dealt with a colony that had used some of the ice from around the solar system to flood the surface of Mars. So it's a whole giant ocean on Mars. And it added enough mass to the planet to give it one Earth gravity, or close to one Earth gravity. And it also made it so that people lived in cities under the sea. And so, again, you have limited access to sunlight for powering. And the AI in my story didn't completely all side with the takeover. And so there are AI companions to my characters. And so you're all it's the Matrix, only it's not the Matrix. And I did a similar story for, I think it was The Crow. I created a whole new character, put them through a whole new circumstance of issues going on, and wrote the character in their own way. And I was looking over, I think I just looking through some stuff on my files the other day, I ran across my old works on those, and I'm just sort of like, oh, these are like, there's so much potential in them. They weren't written great when I wrote them necessarily. They're not bad. They're pretty good. They're unfinished, and they're still borrowing somebody else's franchise to do it. But I was looking at them and going like, they're so different from the base franchise that they're based off of, that if I just tweak it a little bit, it can be its whole own thing. So like the Crow one doesn't have to be the Crow. All you need is somebody who died and came back and wants revenge against the people who killed them. And the methodology of how they come to peace with being undead seeking revenge, and whether or not getting that revenge ends their return to Earth again. Do they want to do that? And so like that whole story element can be done in any kind of undead situation. You could do vampires, you can do revenants, you can do ghosts, you can do whatever you want with that situation, and it works. The Matrix themed one, it doesn't need to have the apocalyptic war that happened. It could be a war that's still in progress with AI. And the way I wrote it, you never have to know whether or not Earth fell. They could be people simply trapped on Mars fighting against AI in a virtual world for control over the planetary resources and the ability to contact or communicate off-world. So I could rewrite all of these and make them original works, and it wouldn't drastically change them, and it lets me reclaim characters and concepts of events that were happening in the stories that would otherwise be wasted. So I'm looking at a lot of those, and not only am I having nostalgia for the time when I wrote them, but I sort of like, I'm seeing the potential of taking them back and reworking them. So I'm having a fair amount of fun with that. And so I'm doing some creative things. I feel like there's got to be a way to do this a little more live rather than tell you about the ideas I had yesterday. Actually just do some of it live. I don't know. I got to figure out how that would work, because not everybody would like talking right now. I can ramble and it's hopefully partly interesting, but if I were in the midst of rewriting something or doing something like that, the actual writing is going to be a lot of me doing nothing but typing and not acknowledging the existence of the camera or anybody watching. So I don't imagine that's going to be great live content. But I do think some of the gameplay stuff that I was looking at, like the Ironsworn, where you build a setting, build a character, and can role play it individually, has the potential for allowing for storytelling live. So I'm sort of just trying to figure some of that out right now as I sort of plan to. I feel like I'm getting a late start on this year. We're almost at the end of February by the time I'm actually going to get much done. But I do think there's the potential of going forward with it, getting started on a new way of doing things on this channel sometimes. Focusing more on the story elements and the play and the game and the fun aspect of it, and put more of the artwork and those types of things over on the companion channel to this channel. So that's sort of my thought process on this right now. I need to get a better chair. This hurts. So I'm going to call it here. We're almost at 45 minutes tonight. And I'm kind of proud of myself in the fact that I didn't set it to private tonight. Going forward, I'm hoping to do 11 o'clock during the nights of the week. I should be able to always make an 11 o'clock, except for potentially on Sunday night when I have a game night. But I'm still not sure what I'm doing for the non-live daytime videos that I want to do. I need to work on that a little bit more before I post anything up with that. But I'm hoping to get started with that soon. So I think there is a good point to call it for the night. So I thank you for joining me, and take care. I will catch you tomorrow, and have a good night. Still need to make a copy of that so that I can just cut and paste. Make it faster so I can do it at the end of each video. All right. Bonsoir. See you tomorrow.